Vous voulez tous photographier Madame la Haute Commissaire, mais il faut reprendre la séance. Et avant toute chose, Madame la Haute Commissaire, je tiens à vous remercier de la manière la plus chaleureuse pour le temps que vous avez voulu consacrer dans un dialogue avec les représentants de la société civile européenne. Nous sommes peut-être pas tous là, mais en général, nous sommes 350 membres représentant l'ensemble des intérêts économiques et sociaux de 28 pays membres de l'Union européenne. Notre souci le plus important en matière de relations extérieures, c'est de travailler en concordance de phase avec la haute commissaire pour les relations extérieures et ses services. Nous avons exprimé cette volonté à l'égard de Mme Ashton qui vous a précédé à ce poste et nous a pas fait l'honneur de venir discuter avec nous. Donc vous avez jugé utile de le faire et je vous en remercie. Je tiens encore à vous dire que le Comité économique et social européen a mis en place un grand réseau avec la société civile de la plupart des pays, pour ne pas dire avec tous les pays avec lesquels l'Union a des relations. Il serait dommage que les services de la haute commissaire, donc de la politique extérieure de l'Union, n'exploitent pas à bon escient cette expertise que nous avons acquise et ces possibilités que nous avons de parlementer, de dialoguer et parfois de négocier avec nos partenaires d'autres pays associés. Voilà donc ce que nous vous demandons. En fait, nous vous demandons à vous aider, à vous assister dans votre travail qui est extrêmement difficile, surtout en cette période de crise. Et nous comprenons absolument que votre temps est compté. C'est pourquoi mes remerciements sont encore plus chaleureux pour le temps que vous nous consacrez. C'est avec plaisir que je vous cède la parole.
Merci beaucoup. C'est vraiment mon plaisir d'être là et c'est moi qui vous remercie pour l'invitation. C'est quelque chose que j'apprécie beaucoup et qui c'est très important pour moi. Je vais passer à l'anglais ou à l'italien, comme vous préférez. Pas au grec. J'ai étudié de grec ancien, mais je pense que ce n'est pas la même chose et je ne peux pas parler vraiment. So it is really sincerely that I would like to thank you for the invitation. I think that this very difficult times and we cannot miss the opportunity to help each other in these difficult times. I am always happy to have meetings not only with civil society organizations, social partners inside the European Union, which is something I try to do wherever I visit inside the member states, but also outside of our borders. I was just thinking of the last 2 weeks. In my travels, in my trips, in my visits, I met with European investors in Argentina, in Buenos Aires a few days ago, civil society groups in Azerbaijan, and humanitarian workers, NGOs in Mozambique. This gives us a range of our presence when it comes to social actors and civil society organizations in countries very far away from one from the other, very far away from our borders, but that create somehow the network of points of reference that we use in our foreign policy normally. So I believe, this to start with, that any form of constant consultation and dialogue we can establish is going to be a positive one for both, for me and for my work, for the work of our services, and I believe for the work of the committee. So glad to work on that in the forms that will be possible to explore. I know that there are some old friends in the room that I'm glad to meet again, a couple of them just there. And some of you might know that I started actually working in foreign policy through campaigns and NGO works. That is why I've always believed that the work that civil society can do in foreign policy is natural. I don't see why one should argue for that. This is simply part of reality. Today, a lot, but also in the past decades, that was an important one. And in this year in office, here in Brussels, I have seen this even in a stronger way, very evident. First of all, European companies and associations are an international players themselves. Your work outside of the European borders is evident. And again, let me add that whenever I meet European companies or trade unions or NGOs abroad, there is something they always tell me, which is we need a European Union that is truly united to help our daily work wherever we are. The unity of our union, I don't think it's by chance that we are called a European Union and not something else, is an added value not only and not just inside our borders, but it is an element of credibility and of strength whenever we work, both institutions and civil society actors, outside of our borders. Secondly, the organized civil society in Europe, and this very committee in particular, have strong ties with civil society groups in our region, you said that, and in the rest of the world. I was with you and with former President Malos less than 1 year ago when we opened the Civil Society Forum with some 200 organizations. And next May, this committee's premises will once again host the Forum for the Southern Neighborhood. And these contacts shape our foreign policy. Let me say that when we say the European foreign policy, we don't just refer to the institutional foreign policy of Europe. We also refer to the common foreign policy that all parts and bodies of our societies build and shape. It is not only institutions, European institutions, that shape foreign policy of the European Union. It's also civil society organizations, social partners, mayors and local authorities, regions, citizens, think tanks, academia, that give the sense of direction and shape our presence in the world and our foreign policy orientation. You are part of the European foreign policy community, so I am only glad and honored myself that you have engaged so much in working with us and in our debate on our external action. As you know, in the next couple of months, I will present to the European Council a European Union global strategy. You might remember well, in 2003, Javier Solana produced a security strategy for the European Union. That was 13 years ago, and that started by saying that Europe has never been in such a peaceful, stable and secure environment, and I'm afraid that that's not the case anymore. So we thought last year that it was wise and appropriate and timing to present, this time not a security strategy, but a global strategy for the Union, looking at the different aspects of our presence in the world, looking at the different chapters of action we can take, looking at the interests of the Europeans in engaging with the world, not only the traditional diplomacy, but also trade, development, humanitarian aid, but also energy, climate, all the different aspects of our engagement in the world, human rights work, all the different aspects of our work in the world, how we can better serve the European interests, of which the European values are a fundamental part, to me. Overcoming this clash between interest and values, I believe it's our fundamental interest to promote our values. I'll come to that in a moment. And to use all our instruments in a coordinated way, including the work, I believe, of our social partners. So I believe that if you would feel like providing some insights or some inputs or some thinking from your point of view on the global strategy we are shaping for the European Union, that would be more than welcome, precious. We are engaging in contacts and dialogues and exchanges with different actors, not only the governments, and within the governments, not only the foreign ministries, but also national parliaments, academia, think tanks, civil society organizations, citizens. I will meet tomorrow, I think, a group of former Erasmus students to get their views on what the European Union foreign policy should look like maybe 5-10 years from now. Get a common sense of direction for the European citizens of what is the added value of the European Union to them when it comes to our role in the world. So I would see this as one of the first elements of our strong cooperation in the weeks to come. Being sure that this can be a strategy for the whole of the European Union. And maybe this could be also helpful for our internal debate, because as we talk about our foreign policy, we also have to look at our internal developments and make sure that we keep the Union strong or make the Union strong. We could debate about that for a long time, and if you want, we can, and make sure that while we develop a global strategy for the Union, we don't lose the Union in the meantime. When we started discussing about this strategy, one of the first thoughts was that we must look well beyond national governments and international organizations. Power in the world has never been so diffuse, not just in the sense that the number of medium-sized powers has multiplied, but in the sense that non-state actors can be and are crucial in different ways in foreign policy. They can fuel wars and conflicts. They can put an end to wars and conflicts. They can stabilize a country, and you know that very well. Addressing or preventing a crisis might require that we engage with actors that are not necessarily institutions, or it can be regional or local players. We need to enlist all who have concrete impact on the ground in different circumstances. Local authorities, communities, civil society, religious leaders. We have different actors and partners we have to relate to. We need to pioneer a new form of engagement in conflicts by sharing responsibility. And I will be very happy to hear your views about that. We have been working together on the neighborhood policy, and there were many ideas on which we agreed. First, as you suggested, we are working on a better visibility of our actions, because we know that we are doing a lot, but sometimes this a lot is not perceived by the same recipients of the policies. And this is in itself a problem for the sustainability of our policies. We agreed that all levels of government must be part of the picture, not only the national governments, as I said. And we see this in our daily work. Let me make one concrete example of that. Libya. In Libya, our most fruitful work is with mayors, the still legitimate elected bodies that have a concrete interest in stabilizing the situation on the ground, because they have to deliver services to their own citizens. We agreed that working on economic opportunities is vital in our neighborhood, in particular with a view at our youth in Europe, obviously, but also beyond. And this is, I believe, even more true today, as alienation among young generations highly contributes to radicalization and facilitates the recruitment by terrorist groups. I have to say, I don't buy this notion that young people have lost their idealism. This is something I've been hearing for at least a couple of decades. And still, we have had generations of young people then growing up facing very difficult political circumstances in the world, in Europe, still keeping their willingness to engage. What is missing today is probably not the ideal references or the willingness of young people to engage. What might be missing today is the space for the young generations to engage properly. When we talk about good education, that's good and key. We always have to talk about good jobs following good education, because we are seeing generations of well-educated people, especially in the south of the Mediterranean, that then get frustrated because they don't find a level of employment that corresponds to their level of education. And this is true also inside Europe, by the way. But we also need to look at the space in society. I was always very much impressed by a conversation I had with a group of civil society representatives in Tunisia, very young ones, and I was asking them, how comes that in a country that we take as a reference for the transition, democracy, somehow the Arab Spring that has worked more than in other cases, still this is the country that offers in percentage, the highest number of foreign fighters. And a very young girl told me, you know what, my generation, and especially girls, were the ones in the streets. But then my generation is the one that doesn't find the place in the organigram when we look at institutions, power sharing, and society. So my generation is more and more looking for a definition of what our role is in society. So what they're looking for is, in some cases, power, in some cases, adventure, in some cases, violence, in some cases, a definition of their place in the organigram. So if we don't work, and this is no justification, obviously, for any young or less young people to join the terrorist group, but if we don't work together in creating and opening up spaces for participatory democracy in the countries around us, and also inside Europe, we will never do enough on the level of education and job creation if we don't also look at this social, civil space in the societies around us. And again, the role of civil society here is key. As I mentioned, Tunisia, the Nobel Peace Prize to the National Dialogue Quartet in Tunisia is, I believe, the most powerful symbol we can get, acknowledging on a global stage that the potential of trade unions, entrepreneurs, and civil society together as a whole has a huge impact to promote human rights and national reconciliation. And we all know that we need these national reconciliation efforts everywhere in the region, promoting and protecting the space of civil society. This is the key. And this is not only something that comes out of our values, our history as Europeans, this is also our strategic interest today. When I was mentioning the fact that we need to work on societies and countries around us that are not only interlocutors on an institutional basis, this is what I meant. We need to invest more and more with our policies together with different actors from the European side in creating the space for resilience in societies around us. This is also why we engage with organizations such as Anna Lindh Foundation or the Union for the Mediterranean to advocate reforms and democracy building, also to create common opportunities for common work on common projects. And this is something we can do together. Different institutions in the European side, the EESC, the Commission, Council, the Committee of the Regions, all doing together an interinstitutional work that can deliver. Now, I was mentioning resilience. I believe this is the key. Also learning from the mistakes we have done in the past. Some used to believe that a stable government was equal to a stable country. We have heard that many times in the last decades. Some believe that a strong man, and then notice that it's always a strong man, never a strong woman, was equal to a strong society. And some believe that democracy could be exported militarily. Now, today we know, I think almost all of us, we know that a country can be stable, peaceful, and democratic only if its citizens decide so, and only if a democracy is a participatory one. And the only way to have a stable country is to have an open society and accessible and transparent institutions. And here, there is nothing that an institution can do alone, if not together in conjunction with the civil society in all its different formations. Now, in this room, for sure, we all agree on that. But the point is that today, we are in much bigger company in recognizing that this is the case. We need to put this in practice now. And the number of test cases we have in front of us is huge. And I believe that two of them will be particularly key in our neighborhood. One is Syria, and the other one is Libya. Now, let me focus on Syria. But the reasoning is very much similar for the two. In Syria, after 5 years of war and disastrous numbers in terms of victims inside Syria, people killed, people internally displaced, wounded, we have maybe the possibility of turning the dream of a reconciliation, internal reconciliation, into a reality. I believe we are going into the right direction. Negotiations are starting in Geneva. It will not be easy. The European Union is present there, working significantly both on the humanitarian track, on the political track, not on the military one. We are present in the task force, but we are not present on the ground, as you know, as such, as the European Union. We've always decided not to be engaged militarily in Syria. For months, we have been saying that there is no military solution to this war, and today, finally, most international actors seem to agree that only through dialogue among Syrians we can start building peace and rebuilding the country and rebuilding the society, which will be a complicated exercise. Europe is directly present on the ground, as I said, again, not as a military force, but as the main humanitarian donor. We provide more or less 2/3 of the humanitarian support inside Syria and around. And we try to deliver humanitarian aid inside Syria. We managed to deliver so much in the last 2 weeks that I believe this could represent a sign of hope for the Syrians that still are inside the country and the ones that are outside of it. And we're also trying to create trust among different actors inside Syria and around. Actors that a few days ago were fighting against each other. They could go back fighting if we don't manage to have dialogue working in these hours in Geneva. The road is going to be long and difficult, but I believe that for the first time in 5 years we have an international community unity that can allow us to move forward and can allow us to push the Syrians to find a common ground to save the country. The same kind of multiple engagement with state and non-state actors, because obviously when I say we are the main humanitarian donor in Syria and around Syria, we do this in conjunction with NGOs on the ground and international agencies, so it's a joint effort we're doing. The same kind of multiple engagement with state and non-state actors is something we can do and we are doing, for instance, in Colombia. We were discussing this together with some friends in the room yesterday in the European Parliament, the work we do in Latin America, where a perspective in Colombia, if the FARC will manage to arrange a peace deal with the government, we will have a major effort for stabilization and implementation of the agreement inside the country. And this would mean reintegrate fighters, national reconciliation, creating new economic opportunities, guarantee transitional justice and accountability, all things where state actors, institutional actors, and non-state actors and civil society can join forces in providing ideas of what could work in a difficult circumstance. And this is true all over Africa, where we have the EU Pan-African Programme, 40 million euros foreseen in 4 years to support civil society role in promoting democracy, governance and human rights in Africa. And let me say that investing in Africa's civil society, I believe, is the key to empower the continent, starting from the women that represent the backbone of African economy, and represent also the backbone of peace and security in Africa, including the prevention of radicalization of the youth and the education efforts for the girls. It's a chain. It's a chain where we need to partner, again, institutions and you and your counterparts in the different countries. I know I've been long, I'll stop. I know you're going to have a discussion with my colleague and friend Dimitris Avramopoulos on migration just after our session, so I will not get into that too much. But let me say a few words on migration and the refugee crisis we are facing. I believe this is really time for us Europeans to look at the level of our internal solidarity in how we respond to this crisis, how we can effectively share, I don't say the burden, I say the responsibility of managing this new situation we're facing. Seen from a European perspective, we have the impression that this is a European crisis. Let me tell you, traveling around the world, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, less so, but not completely so, we see it very clearly. Reality of facts is that people in the world are on the move because of different reasons. Wars, climate change consequences, conflicts, poverty, inequalities, access to resources. People are on the move, much more than any time before. The point is, inside the European Union, we have waited and waited and waited, pretending not to see this coming, until we realized last year that, oops, we have to do something to face this. I will not argue if that was too late or too early, if that was... The point is that now we have the opportunity to really shape common European policies and instruments to manage a phenomenon that is not going to disappear. I don't say it's not going to disappear anytime soon. No, it's not going to disappear, full stop. This is the world we're living in. This is the new normal. We have to find ways to share responsibility internally, inside the European Union. We have to find the ways to, on a global level, manage migration and refugee flows in a sustainable way. And here, it's not only for the European Union, but it's also for the UN system to find new ways to manage this, and regional organizations from Latin America to Asia. Everybody's struggling with that. We need new instruments and new paradigms. But inside Europe, we need to, I would say, understand in which way we profit from this crisis to upgrade the level of common instruments and policies we can use. We have tried national policies so far. I see now a wave of tendencies or temptations to say, let's try national responses, because the European ones have not worked. Well, let me give you a news. Since till October last year, we only had national instruments to manage migration, and we turned to exploring common European policies because the national ones were not working. So I'm afraid that exploring national policies would simply mean failing individually, rather than trying to succeed collectively. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we need to move towards, I believe, a system of European asylum, a system of European migration policies. Again, you will discuss this with Avramopoulos, and we're working very well together. We need to find the European way to manage this phenomenon, without illusions that this will disappear or that will be easy. But I believe we have the strength, the instruments, the capacity to work on the different files that are connected to this dramatic situation. Always keeping in mind that the refugee crisis is first and foremost the crisis of the people that are fleeing. They are the ones experiencing the crisis much before we are. And that we have different aspects to work on. We have the internal dynamics, how we share responsibility in hospitality and protection of human lives in a sustainable way, how we dismantle the traffickers' networks and the criminal organizations that are making money out of it, how we support our partner countries in Africa or in Asia that are at the same time countries of origin, of transit and of destination. Wherever I travel in Africa, I hear of hundreds of thousands of refugees in the same countries where we imagine migrants are coming from. They are coming from there, but they also go in there. There's more people moving inside Africa than from Africa to Europe. We need to get global on this and get the bigger picture. We also have, obviously, to work on what I was talking about before: crisis, conflict, resilience of societies. This could make our European approach work and sustainable in the long run. We are trying on the external side to put things together, supporting Syria and not Syria, not the regime, obviously, the Syrians and the countries around Syria to manage the internally displaced people and the refugees, and the resilience of the countries themselves, because if Lebanon or Jordan face a major crisis, then we will have additional problems on top of the Syrian one. Having clear in mind that 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, and here I finish, the general mood of the European public opinion was that Europe was failing in saving lives. You might remember that, but we have a very short memory. We were saying the European Union is allowing hundreds of people dying in the Mediterranean Sea. And it was not the first time that happened. As an Italian, I can tell you, we had experienced years, if not decades, of people dying in the Mediterranean. Our Maltese friends or Spanish friends will remember that very well. Greek, the same. Today, we are saving lives. Today, we have the perception inside the European Union that we are failing in protecting our external borders. But let me tell you, you protect your borders from an enemy, not from the refugees. I believe we are a little bit too shy in saying that we might be failing in sharing responsibility inside the European Union in protecting and hosting refugees. Also, I'll make it very clear, to send back irregular migrants that have not come in regularly, also because this makes it possible to sustain regular migration and protection of refugees. But we are too shy in saying that, I'm sorry, I'm proud, we've saved tens of thousands of lives at sea. And this is not a failure, this is a success. Still, every single person that dies at sea or at land, it's a shame. And the images we're seeing, I will not get into that too much, I'm sure Dimitris will do that afterwards, are a shame for any European. But we have a schizophrenic public opinion sometimes. Shame because we don't save lives, or shame because we don't close our borders. Sorry, this is not sustainable. We have to do things in a rational and human way. Saving lives comes first. Managing rationally and in a sustainable ways comes with it. And if we want and if we manage to do things not in a sense of panic and with all the resources we can put together as Europeans, we can make it. This is one of the greatest and most difficult challenges we have. Also give voice to all those that work silently, in solidarity, the many NGOs that have been working on this for decades, sometimes alone. They have to be given voice by the institutions as well, not only those that shout louder in the streets. Reflect the best of us, not only the worst, and act rationally to create solutions. I believe all European citizens today recognize that either we find European solutions that work, or we will not find any solution that will work. And we have this paradox today. We need more European instruments, and we don't see ways to get to the political leadership that manages to deliver on having and building these European common solutions. We need to fill in this gap, and we need, as European institutions, your work to match and to complement and to advise the ones that we can do in this respect. Thank you.
Madame la haute commissaire, ce n'est pas une surprise pour moi, parce que j'ai essayé de suivre votre action, que j'ai qualifiée de très courageuse, parce qu'il n'est pas facile d'essayer de tracer une ligne en politique extérieure à l'intérieur de l'Union. Et vous avez tous les mérites. Mais en plus, j'ai été très heureux de vous entendre. Tout ce que vous avez dit, et notamment votre attitude vis-à-vis de la peine humaine, de la crise humanitaire, de la peine que des êtres humains ont et que d'autres restent indifférentes. Et puis, vous avez mis la société civile organisée au centre de toutes ces discussions. Je tiens à vous remercier en public et solennellement. Nous allons avoir un débat rapide et vous allez voir que mes collègues sont sur la même longueur d'onde. Je vous demande seulement, chers collègues, parce que nous avons un autre débat, Madame la haute-commissaire l'a déjà annoncé et vous le savez, d'être concis, précis sur l'heure qui vous est, le temps qui vous est imparti. Premier intervenant, c'est M. Jonathan Peel, le collègue Peel, et il va avoir un temps de 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Madam High Representative, Madam Vice President, I'm here by the cameras. May I, on behalf of Jacek Krawczyk, the President of the Employers Group and the whole group, and us all, welcome you to the committee. Thank you for a most interesting and thoughtful presentation. As you said, we are living in very difficult times, and you have a very wide brief. Many of our neighbouring countries are being challenged by war, instability, and human suffering as seldom before in living memory. And there are major security issues here too. Europe does not live in a vacuum. We must work as a whole, and we must at all costs avoid turning inwards. And we look forward to your global strategy, which you are going to produce in June. What this committee can best offer is the voice of civil society, as you emphasised, including business across a very wide range of issues. We're also best placed to interact with you on issues where there are strong cross-linkages, especially where civil society is involved. And I welcome in particular your reference to civil society in Africa. Because one of the most important cross-cutting issues we face are the Sustainable Development Goals, where UNCTAD estimate that an extra $2.5 trillion will be required every year to help meet these, and much of that is going to come from the private sector. And I think COP21 goals will be just as difficult to achieve. As the voice of business inside the institutions, our group has 4 main priorities. First is the neighbourhood policy, which I leave to others to describe. The second key interest is trade and investment, and we welcome Mrs. Malmström back here next month. But of course, economic diplomacy through EU missions is always an essential role as well. Third, of course, as I've mentioned, is the interconnection between trade and sustainable development, promoting our values around the world, fighting corruption, and safeguarding our own social and regulatory model at home. And fourth are our relations with our strategic partners. Now, obviously, the transatlantic partnership is particularly important at the time. But there are others, such as Japan. And here I would ask you, when do you expect the strategic partnership agreement with Japan to be finalised? There's China, India, and many other countries in the G20. But I come back to the strong cross-linkages where I think we have an important role. And one such is China's One Road, One Belt policy, clearly aimed at Europe. We need to respond, and it cuts across several other areas of our activity. Our EU-China Roundtable has been one of the most successful of our contact groups. When we were in Tbilisi last month for the first meeting of the EU-Georgia Civil Society Platform, our business contacts there stressed the importance of Chinese investment in Georgia. When we did our opinion on Central Asia last year for the review of your policy on Central Asia, again, heavy Chinese involvement came there too. Energy connection, transport corridors, energy efficiency, all these issues. And of course, Iran is important too, and we wish you well for your visit there in April. To conclude, none of us can be an island, although some may think so. Building cross-linkages is essential, and here we have a key role to play, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. s'il vous plaît, respectez les temps si vous voulez que Madame la commissaire puisse vous répondre. Et la parole est à la collègue Gabrielle Bischoff, présidente du groupe de travail.
Dear High Representative Mogherini, I warmly welcome you in the name of the Workers' Group here for your first visit in the plenary of the Economic and Social Committee. And let me emphasize that it was a pleasure to listen to you, because you address the key issues that are very important for us here in the committee, and especially also for the Workers' Group. And we are all aware that we are in a very critical situation at the moment in Europe, but this cannot let us just focus on our own problems, but to really see the global dimension of it. And therefore, you have all the support here for a new global strategy on foreign and security policy. And I think we cannot just on one hand see the people that are fleeing from war and are looking for a safe place in the world on one hand, and think that we can just lay back and watch out the fallback of policies we are also partly responsible for. And therefore, for us, it is very important that we find answers to the new global strategies. And I'm very happy that you addressed yourself the point that we have today totally different forms of wars. We have a sort of war economy. We have to deal with new phenomena like that we have warlords and other groups that have no interest in peace. But it's the civilians that pay the price, and they are the ones that need peace and want peace. And therefore, I'm very lucky that you addressed that you will deal with it in a different way, not only by traditional diplomacy, which has its place, but also by involving civil society in this process, because I'm convinced there will be no solutions if we don't change the modes and involve really civil society in developing the solutions. But let me use the opportunity to also address deep concerns we have as the Workers' Group. And you addressed some of it yourself. We should never sell our soul and our values for finding pragmatic solutions that are not sustainable. And the deal with Turkey, I want to give you this message back to the Commission, does not find the support of the Workers' Group. We are highly concerned and highly critical, and many of us just participated in the small demonstration we just had outside on No More Walls in Europe. We have to address this without being naive, without seeing that it will be very complicated to find a solution, but this is key, and we have to come to new answers there. And let me close with one remark, and I already spoke too long. We had the Tunisian quartet here. It is so important that we have this positive model. But on one hand, we have a very high youth unemployment in these countries, and we cannot wait until we have a global strategy. We have to act now, we have to act fast, we have to support civil society there, but we have to help the country in development and to give the youth in their country an opportunity, because as you said, resilience, we have to learn from the past, and this includes that we cannot wait here, because otherwise we will have another fallout. And therefore I can assure you, you have the support of the Workers' Group here, and we are looking forward to this strategy and to work together with you.
Vielen Dank, Gabi. La parole est à Luca Jaillet, président du...
Grazie Presidente, e un caloroso benvenuto a nome del Gruppo 3, che ho l'onore di presiedere, alla alta rappresentante Federica Mogherini. posso sottoscrivere e concordare su tutto ciò che ha detto parola per parola e forse non è un caso, vista anche, come lei ha ricordato, che la sua carriera nella politica internazionale è cominciata nel mondo delle ONG e della militanza internazionalista italiana, mondo nel quale per qualche anno ho esercitato anch'io qualche responsabilità. Mi consente di aggiungere qualche piccola considerazione alle cose che lei ha detto. Poche settimane or sono, nel corso di una toccante cerimonia, il Parlamento europeo ha dedicato una sua sala ad un grande statista italiano, Aldo Moro, del quale è stata ricordata la capacità di collocare la singola crisi nel quadro di una strategia complessiva più ampia, che soprattutto nel campo della politica estera considera il medio e lungo termine come la normalità dell'azione politica. Per questo mi permetto di dirle che quanto da lei annunciato qui, ma che tutti sappiamo, la revisione globale della politica estera e di sicurezza che lei sta preparando è, a nostro modo di vedere, di straordinaria importanza. Il tavolo delle crisi, che sono nell'agenda di ogni Consiglio europeo, ordinario e straordinario, e che vedono in particolare la drammatica questione dei rifugiati l'epicentro di un cataclisma senza precedenti, capace persino di sfasciare l'Unione Europea, ci ricordano una realtà tanto semplice quanto chiara, che anche lei ha detto. La guerra, la povertà estrema e le profonde iniquità sono la causa ultima sempre di tutte le migrazioni di massa e lo sono ancora di più oggi. Se quindi oggi siamo chiamati a fronteggiare questa crisi senza precedenti dei rifugiati, bisogna ricominciare a lavorare nel lungo termine sulle cause profonde e per lavorare con efficienza sono necessarie due cose. La prima è riprendere uno sguardo lungo, una strategia globale con una visione. E mi permetta allora di suggerirle come proposta di visione un tema che avevamo messo dentro un parere approvato da questo Comitato qualche anno fa sulla dimensione esterna della strategia di Lisbona. E la proposta è una visione che pensi a una grande alleanza per il progresso, che includa l'Europa, il Mediterraneo e l'Africa intera, come processo e come obiettivo. Un'area che includa il completamento dell'allargamento, la politica di vicinato, la politica per il Mediterraneo e un nuovo partenariato con l'Africa. Un'area che rappresenta oggi più di 2,5 miliardi di persone dalle enormi potenzialità economiche, sia per l'Europa che cerca crescita e sia per quest'area, come ha ricordato, una grande popolazione giovane e che cerca futuro. Forse una proposta di visione per questa strategia per mettere una meta. E la seconda, ed ho concluso Presidente, lei lo ha detto molte volte, rimettere al centro la società civile è la sua storia personale ed è anche la storia più bella dell'Europa. Ma mi consento solo un punto. Condividiamo questa narrazione, ma siamo anche testimoni di una moltiplicazione infinita di sistemi di consultazione, perché il dialogo e il ruolo della società civile diventi forte e resiliente. Bisogna dargli stabilità, struttura, autonomia, continuità. Questo Comitato, storicamente, nel quadro delle istituzioni, è questo quadro stabile. Non vuol dire che va tutto bene quello che facciamo, vuol dire che dobbiamo impegnarci oggi con lei a ripensare anche insieme strategicamente questo ruolo di asse di costruzione di un dialogo civile, stabile e strutturato come asse della politica estera. Questo è questo Comitato e la dimensione istituzionale della democrazia partecipativa. Grazie e siamo al suo fianco nel difficile lavoro che compie.
Grazie Luca. Je me demande si ça vaut la peine de mettre l'horloge en marche. La parole est à Dimitri Dimitriadi.
Mrs. Vice President, thank you very much for your intervention. It was a real surprise for me. Although you destroyed my intervention because I thought from the beginning that you will be an easy target for me to attack you, as I did it 18 years now, to all the members of the European Commission coming here and speaking for Mediterranean. And because I'm Greek and I know very well Mediterranean, and because I love Mediterranean, as I love your country, I know very well the situation there. I can tell you immediately that most of the people from Commission who had come to this committee the last 18 years, they had no idea what happened in Mediterranean. It's the first time, and I would like to congratulate from the bottom of my heart that I hear from the voice of a high representative so important messages for Mediterranean. Thank you very much. And now coming to the reality. The reality, you know better than me the reality, but as Europe, we have failed totally in Mediterranean. We have failed the last 20 years to go on the Barcelona process. We have failed a lot of times with all our relations with a lot of countries in Mediterranean. They love us there, but they don't respect us. They know us, but they don't respect us. Every time when they are in danger, they try to work with the Americans, the Russians, and the other powers, and not with the European Union. I am totally sure that you can do something to that. You can prove that we are not a nuclear power, but we can be a real power to the external relations. You are the face of the new Europe. Thank you.
As long as Europe is there.
Ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ Δημήτρη γιατί σεβάστηκες απόλυτα το χρόνο. Mon camarade Giuseppe Iuliano ha la parola.
Signora Alto Rappresentante, signora Vicepresidente della Commissione, cara amica Federica, esattamente 2 mesi fa, oggi, il 16 gennaio, a quest'ora probabilmente, lei stava chiudendo un accordo straordinario con l'Iran che accettava l'intesa sul nucleare e lei ha annunciato lo stop delle sanzioni degli Stati Uniti e dell'Unione Europea. Sottolineo quel momento, perché noi l'abbiamo ammirata tantissimo quel giorno, perché in quello straordinario gesto di diplomazia c'erano tutti i principi che ispirano l'Unione Europea, la non violenza, la pace, necessari per la democrazia, per lo sviluppo. È stato un gesto straordinario che so essere legato alla sua sensibilità personale, alle tante esperienze, tante che abbiamo anche condiviso. Abbiamo bisogno di una strategia, come hanno detto tanti colleghi, di una strategia politica e diplomatica sull'Oriente, sul Mediterraneo, che sia ispirata a quei medesimi principi. Perché la stabilità, lo sviluppo economico, la tutela della pace e dei diritti umani in queste realtà sono fondamentali per l'Unione Europea. Così come altri attori, grandi attori nello scenario geoeconomico mondiale, hanno le loro strategie su ogni area. L'Unione Europea deve dotarsi di questa strategia politica. Lei sa che in tutte queste realtà noi abbiamo contatti con le organizzazioni della società civile, ha citato la Tunisia, il quartetto, sa che le nostre organizzazioni hanno una fitta trama di reti, di relazioni. Noi possiamo svolgere un lavoro di sostegno a questa strategia diplomatica ed è diplomazia parallela, so che mi capisce. È diplomazia parallela perché noi possiamo talvolta raggiungere risultati che le istituzioni non possono o non riescono a raggiungere. Lei torna adesso dall'America, Buenos Aires, Cuba, e sa che andremo e probabilmente affronteremo il lavoro per la transizione verso la democrazia con la società civile in quel paese. Un ultimo piccolo segnale. Sintonia importante tra il servizio dell'azione esterna e la DG Trade, del commercio. Noi lavoriamo e operiamo nei comitati di monitoraggio degli accordi commerciali. Sa che noi possiamo prevenire l'insorgere di problemi negoziando, soprattutto quando c'è asimmetria tra i partner, penso alla Colombia, ai diritti del lavoro, ai diritti umani in quel paese. Punto. Il messaggio è molto chiaro e semplice. Oltre ad avere amici personali, ha tutto un comitato che è suo alleato se la politica estera.
Grazie tante Giuseppe. La parole est à notre collègue Dilian Slavova, la présidente de notre section des relations intérieures.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madame Mogherini, thank you for accepting our invitation, and it's a real honor and pleasure to have you here in our plenary and to listen to your views on a wide range of topics. As President of the External Relations Section, I would like to underline the excellent cooperation we have with EESC and also with your office. I would also like to congratulate you for the results you achieved as High Representative in view of recent EU foreign affairs success stories, and they should be underlined. The Colombia peace process, the nuclear deal with Iran, the work on humanitarian access on the ground in management of refugees flows. I'd like to focus the success achieved in saving lives and also the decisions on the relocation, resettlements and hotspots. So the results from your work are visible and we strongly support you. I'd like also to stress our main priorities here as a committee and the external relations sections. On the first place, it's the EU enlarged neighborhood. It means Eastern Partnership, Euromed, Western Balkans, Africa, but also trade, development, and peace building. And we should not forget that the European Union is the most successful peace building project in the world. When presenting the ideas of the new European Global Strategy on Foreign and Security Policy, you focus on two very important principles. The first one is consistency, and the second one, responsible engagement. And this means partnerships, to have good partnerships on the ground, local partnerships, regional partnerships. In this case, I think that we need proper partners to promote democracy, stability, and national reconciliation. And here is the role of our committee, which may assist you in finding proper partners and networks. I'd like to remind that our committee is the only EU body which has the expertise, capacity, and potential to become a key partner of EESC in the dialogue with civil society as part of EU's external action. Our committee has done enormous work in monitoring the EU external policy since its inception. Over the years, has taken the form of permanent structures of dialogue with third countries and regions in the world. Now our committee strongly believes in building a strategic relationships with your service based on shared conviction of the importance of civil society in the EU external policy, in particular when it comes to achieving some of the priority objectives. In this aspect, we have a special proposal to you. Please explore the possibility of initiating an annual high-level event on organized civil society participation in the EU external policy here in Brussels. This could be a platform for exploring proper EU solutions based on much more co-responsibility, solidarity, and efficiency. And I can assure you, Madame Mogherini, that for this, you will have our full support and dedicated commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Liliana. Chers collègues, le commissaire Avramopoulos vient d'arriver. Madame la haute commissaire a un calendrier à respecter. Je m'excuse auprès des trois intervenants qui étaient inscrits. Ils auront la priorité lors d'un prochain débat. Je vais passer la parole à Madame la haute représentante pour vous donner quand même des réponses sur des questions que vous n'avez pas posées en fait, mais j'imagine que vous allez confirmer notre voix qui est commune.
First of all, let me say welcome to Dimitris. It's the full board of Mediterraneans here, a little bit too much.
I haven't seen you.
No, we just spent the whole morning together. That's why a certain number of questions, especially the ones relating Turkey, I will leave this to you. I always do this, I'm sorry. But one has some privileges also in being vice president. I will try to answer very quickly to some of the questions. One, trade and investment and economic diplomacy. This is a very important part of my commitment and my work. I stressed this a little bit less during my introductory remarks, but I'm grateful to those that have raised this, also in relation with China, with the One Belt, One Road economy, with the energy diplomacy, the connectivity aspects of our work, and especially the links of this work with Central Asia and some of the Eastern partners. This is a chapter of our external action that I found when I came in was, let's say, less developed than what would have expected. I was surprised to see that, for instance, in the Foreign Affairs Council, we never had in history a proper security discussion together with the Home Commissioner. We never had a migration foreign policy discussion. Now we're having even too much of that, but we introduced together with Dimitris, for instance, these two aspects of work, joining together the interior ministers and the external ministers in finding the internal-external nexus, both on the security challenges and the migration ones. The same we're doing on energy, with a strong cooperation with Vice President Šefčovič on developing an energy diplomacy. We never thought in the past, apparently, that energy is part of our foreign policy. Now we are developing this part of our work. The same way we're working with Vice President Katainen to develop our economic diplomacy, to explore in a systematic and synergic way all the things we can do to promote and support our economic presence in the world, with our principles, with our values, with our standards, but in an organized way, in a synchronized way. And the same goes for climate, where I have to tell you, we managed, I think, to do a lot of work in support of the COP21 agreement in Paris, because in January last year, so 1 year before COP21, we agreed at 28 ministers and with the Commission an action plan of climate diplomacy, where all the single 28 member states and the European Union were giving identical messages, coordinated all around the world, to achieve results in COP21, and it worked. We have to do the same in all sectors. You were saying, apart from very nice things, that we have to show that we are a superpower somehow. And this is exactly my effort every time and everywhere. If you look at the numbers combined, everywhere in the world, everywhere, from the Pacific to the Caribbean, European Union and European member states together are always, in every single country, the first donor of aid, the first trade partner, the first investor, the first, in some cases, security provider. Because this is, we always focus on our soft power, which is correct. We also have 17 military and civilian missions and operations around the world that are European Union flags, missions and operations for peace and security, mainly in Africa, that are providing security also to Europeans that are investing or doing humanitarian work in difficult situations. And we are everywhere in the world the first diplomatic actor, because if you combine diplomacies of 28 member states and our own network of 140 representations and delegations, it's a superpower. The point is that sometimes we don't realize the power we have, and so we don't use it. Sometimes we also have internal problems that make it more difficult to be credible as a superpower, but I'm sure that we can face it. So all of that is in my mind. Another thing, last, I could not miss the reference to Moro. That was a provocation. I cannot resist following this up. It's exactly the sense of the work that we're trying to do with the global strategy. Include every single aspect of our work: crisis management, conflict prevention or post-conflict management, managing all the urgencies we have one day after the other, and there's plenty of them, in one sense of direction. Because if we only run crisis after the other, we never prevent the next thing that is coming. So I see the work on the strategy, on which I would welcome your contribution, in a structured, as you said, in a structured and stable way, as a way also of dealing with the now, with the urgencies of now. We have to include our current work into a strategic vision. Otherwise, we will, as we say in Italian, emptying the sea with a spoon. You never finish. We have to have this common, united sense of direction. And this can help us also preventing future crises. That is, at the end of the day, what we should be doing the most. There were some concrete questions. Again, I leave the Turkish ones to my friend Dimitris. I know he loves me for that. Just two things. One, Tunisia, high youth unemployment. Tunisia is the first country recipient of EU funding per capita. We also have to make sure that this funding is well focused and reaches the objectives. This is partially our duty, partially the Tunisian authorities' responsibility. Another thing that you raised, many of you participated today in the demonstration, No More Walls in the European Union. I could not be present physically, but I took a picture with the banner and I tweeted it. So I was also with you somehow. I thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. C'était vraiment un plaisir et à la prochaine.